Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and this is my review for Freezing Vibrations Episode 4. Now, this one starts off with Satella. Last episode, I thought that Satella and Rana were actually deployed as a couple of the Pandora, but apparently they weren't. So Satella, she's leaving to go to where Gina is, and she's actually disobeying her orders by doing that. And I just want to bring something up here. You know, last episode we saw Charles, Char, and like all the strongest Pandora there, and they're talking about, whether they agree with what's going on or not. And Char says it doesn't matter if we agree or not, because we're Pandoras, we work for Chevalier. If they give us an order, we'll follow it, because we're Pandora. Very next episode, a controversial order gets given out, and you have people who are struggling over whether to obey the order or disobey it. These orders, these controversial orders, the people who are willing to obey and the people who aren't willing to obey, the ones who want to or actually do disobey, that's important in this arc. That is important in this arc. It's being built up. Okay, so this is actually a really important part of the episode. That and a couple other points where people also disobey. But I'll get into those other points later. The next part, I'm not exactly a big fan of. It's this flashback to the mock battle between Gina and Satella. And they kind of just make her look weak. Satella, that is. I mean, they actually have Gina win the mock battle. I mean, it gets stopped, so it's not like it's a legit victory or anything. But she ends up with more points. So she wins, and there are people saying, that she's as strong as Satella, that she's stronger than Satella. But that's just not the case. And even if you look at the match itself, Satella was on defense for most of the time. It just makes her look weak that she is losing and ended up losing to Gina. I mean, her weapon is a stick. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I mean, we've seen season 1. We've seen what Satella is like when she wants to go on the offensive. We've seen her fight people like Arnett. We've seen her fight people like Cassie. We've seen what she's like when she goes on the offensive. But she's not showing any of that. And I'm not expecting her to, sprout the wings and stuff, but they just made her look incredibly weak here. And I just wasn't really a fan of this scene. I mean, I get that they're trying to make Gina look stronger than she was before. But compared to what she was before, the epic fail of a match she had, having her jump from this to just being a little bit below Satella, I think that alone is enough. Having her actually win is too much, though. It just makes Satella look bad. And to be honest, it's just not very believable. Especially after season 1. But oh well. The majority of the rest of the episode is dealing with Gina. First, Elizabeth shows up. She takes the first shot. Though, to be fair, she doesn't really just come out and start fighting Gina. She does some random warning shot and just walks calmly up to her. Then Gina attacks. They're going back and forth. Satella ends up showing up. And Elizabeth tells her, don't do anything. You're supposed to be on standby. But she doesn't listen, again. She again disobeys her orders by trying to get involved, and Andre has to step in. I think that's his name, Elizabeth's limiter. Andre has to step in and use freezing on her. Not only that, but Amelia gets involved as well. You know, Elizabeth had Gina on the ropes, and Amelia shouted out, you know, "Oh, don't hurt her, she's still conscious," and it distracted Elizabeth for long enough to allow Gina to get behind her and actually, you know, slash her. And from there on out, Elizabeth was done. She was out of the fight. And Gina, she went in to try and stab Elizabeth, you know, get the finishing blow. And Amelia stepped in and took the blow instead. But I mean, damage has already been done. Elizabeth's been slashed. She could have ended everything right there, but I doubt Elizabeth would have did what Char did and just killed her outright. But oh well, hindsight, I guess. Gina, after she pulls her blade, I guess. Was it a blade? I don't even remember. I think it was like one of those like a crystallized Nova thing on her arm or something like that. I don't think she was using her like staff stick thing, but she ends up getting out to Amelia that Mark IV was a sham. Elizabeth hears it too. She starts to question Scarlet and the rest of Chevalier and just the whole Eve Pandora project in general. And this is when Shara shows up. She just drop kicks Gina out the way. Those two begin to fight, and we get to see Char use her Typhon Tempest for the first time, which is incredibly impressive. Incredibly impressive. She just like turns on her headphones and starts listening to music, and then she can use this Tempest that she creates like 8 different clones, which is again incredibly impressive. There's a reason why she's top 5 in the world. She's very, very good at what she does. And she has Gina on the ropes for a little bit, then Gina is surprisingly able to adapt to it. Not only does she adapt and actually manage to get a few hits in on Char, then she starts transforming even more into a Nova, which should tell you, you know, she's starting to lose it. She's not the same Gina anymore. So Char, she decides to get more serious and starts she changes her music and starts doing different types of Typhon Tempests, like one was Moonlight Sonata. And she's just kind of dominating Gina. You know, it's not even close anymore. She's done. And she was about to, you know, deal the finishing blow, and somehow, even though she's like using Tempest and everything, Amelia catches up to her, grabs onto her, and tries to hold her back. Char pushes her away, and Gina shoots like this beam or something at her. Char dodges, and then finishing blow. And at this point, that's when everyone else shows up. They're kind of, you know, they don't really need to show up at this point. They're pretty late. Rana shows up, so she technically disobeyed her orders too, running after Satella. Julia shows up, Cassie shows up, Chiffon shows up, and this one guy was there too. I forgot his name. I think it was something like Kazuya Aoi or something like that. I mean, he's barely shown up this season, so I don't know. For some reason, I get the feeling that he's important to the story, but I don't know why, because he's been completely irrelevant so far. So I don't know why I think he's so important, but I don't know. I'll just push that aside for now. But I don't know. It keeps weighing on my mind, the fact that I feel like this guy is supposed to be important for some reason, but whatever. Whatever, I'll just put that aside for now. After this, we get confirmation that Char has killed Gina, and Amelia, she loses it, which is understandable. And she's saying, why'd you kill her? She was still conscious. With your skill, you should have been able to stop her without killing her. And so why'd you kill her? And Char, she's still shaken up over the fact that she almost died from that beam. And she's saying to herself that the only reason she survived is because Elizabeth shouted out this warning to her. Which is kind of weird because her eyes are working perfectly fine, but her ears are kind of busy with the music. So the fact that she wouldn't see the beam but instead heard Elizabeth is kind of weird. But whatever. Whatever. Bugs, Jesus Christ. But whatever. The point is that she almost died. That's the point. She almost died, but she managed to avoid the beam just in the nick of time. One of her headphones got busted, but she's okay. But she's shaken up by it, so she doesn't really answer Amelia. But the answer to the question is obvious because we know what Char thinks about this issue. If she gets an order, she's going to follow it. It's that simple. But obviously some people don't agree, namely Elizabeth and Zatella. But after this, there's the funeral that they have for Gina. They're burning her stuff. Scarlet shows up, and she just admits that the E-Pandora are just guinea pigs. And, she tells them that the Mark IV experiments aren't over, and that if they have to, they will die for humanity, for humankind. Scarlet tells the Pandora that they will die if that they should die if they have to. They will die if they have to, and if they try to disobey, they will be forced to obey. So that's some pretty tough stuff right there, but yeah, they don't really take it very well. Amelia's kind of angry. She's clearly not pleased with Scarlet's words there, but Satella, she's also not pleased with what's going on, obviously, and she wants to leave and disobey orders again by leaving, even though she's supposed to be on standby, and going to Scarlett O'Hara and demanding an explanation from her, but Elizabeth stops her. But after this, Elizabeth ends up going to Amelia, and it's supposed to be emotional, but I didn't really care that much, whatever. The point is that Amelia is going to volunteer for the next experiment that they do, so that she can delay the suffering of the other girls and maybe prevent it for a little longer. So that's admirable of her. But like I said, the emotional stuff I didn't really care about. Then after this, we switch to Chiffon and Elizabeth in the shower. Speaking of shower, the reason my freezing review is so late is because Hiryu fan subs didn't release the episode. They haven't released it yet. So I was waiting for them, but I ended up just giving up and going with Funimation and the censored versions. But, oh well. I'm not really a fan of having like white bars and things on the screen. It kind of distracts from what's going on, more so than the fan service itself, usually. Because it's not natural, so it just draws your attention away and kind of just takes away from things. But back to the shower scene. Pretty much, Elizabeth is trying to get Chiffon to agree with her that they should do something about it. But Chiffon is actually on Char's side. Because the last time she kind of avoided choosing a side, but this time she does, and she just comes out and says it. Chevalier, at the end of the day, what they're doing is for the survival of mankind. It's for all of humanity. And as Pandora, they should be willing to fight to the death if it means helping humanity. And it's true that most Pandora, when they're fighting for humanity, they're fighting against Novas. But in this case, the E-Pandora are fighting for humanity by finding ways to allow humanity to fight back even more against the Nova in the future. So while the fight is not exactly the same as most Pandora, they are still fighting for the sake of humanity. And Chiffon understands that. And it's clearly it's tough to just sit back and watch and do as you're told when you know that these girls are just test subjects, they're guinea pigs. And Chevalier, the secretary, Scarlet, they are going to sacrifice them if they need to. The secretary especially, he does not care if they die. He will kill them all off if it means getting just 1% closer to perfecting perfecting the E-Pandoras and reaching their goal. He knows they'll always have more. They do not care about the lives of these particular E-Pandora. They care about the success of the E-Pandora project as a whole, no matter how long it takes. As long as they get there, he's fine with it, no matter how many people need to die. But at the end of the day, Chiffon understands that while it may be hard to sit back and watch, while it may be hard to actually participate in it, because while they might not be active in actually killing them off, they're just as guilty for sitting there and watching it happen. But Chiffon and Char, they understand that at the end of the day, Chevalier is doing what they're doing for the sake of mankind, for all of humanity. And all they need to do are follow their orders. That's what they should do. And Chiffon tells that to Elizabeth, not in as much detail, but she tells it to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth isn't satisfied. She's not. She decides that she's going to use the Mabley family in their influence to try to change things. And Satella, she overhears this, and she's trying to say that, I'll help you out. I'll get the L. Bridget family involved too. The L. Bridget family. But Elizabeth is not having any of it. She's not. She materializes her revolt weapons, and she shoots holes in Satella's wrists and ankles. So again, Satella's being made to look weak, which in reality she is weaker than Elizabeth, but it would have been better if she didn't look weak against Gina too. But at the main point of this is that Elizabeth is going in on her own to try and stop this using the Mabley family. She doesn't want anyone else to suffer the possible consequences of going against orders, so that's why she's trying to keep Satella out of it. And that's that. What'll happen to her? I would just say who knows and pretend like I don't know, but the preview kind of spoils it, so I'll just leave it at that. If you want to be spoiled, you can go look at this preview. I'm not going to talk about it because it really does spoil a lot. But, the opening alone spoils stuff, but the ending, or not the ending, the preview really, really spoils it. It practically tells you exactly what happens. But I won't, if perhaps you skipped the preview or you missed it or you didn't notice it, because maybe you were reading the subtitles and not looking at what was actually going on. That happens sometimes. I do it sometimes too. Maybe you didn't really see, and maybe you didn't really get spoiled. And if that's the case, I won't talk about the preview anymore and actually spoil you, because huge spoilers in the preview. But that's it for now. This review kind of went on too long because I kind of just got talking about a bunch of different stuff, like Satella and Chiffon's words and everything like that. But overall, I'll give this episode a 7 out of 10. The best scenes in the episode were with Char, but even then, the other stuff kind of brings it down. Plus the fact that whenever Char ended up doing something legit, Amelia ended up getting involved. Even with Elizabeth started to do a couple legit things there, combining Excel and Tempest. Then Amelia got involved and just got rid of all the momentum. But yeah, that's it. This episode of Freezing Vibrations gets a 7 out of 10. rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.